Stacey Landberg.
And I'm Kelli Bavaro. We're both speech language pathologists.
Yep. We're doing another video today. Watching an excerpt from a virtual home visit. This is with a deaf and hard of hearing teacher, and the little girl is 8 months old and she is deaf bilaterally. So come take a listen. Let us know if you like it, have any questions, other observations, things you want to hear us talk about as we go through this. And there's more from this visit, so we can watch other parts another time.
So, Serenity, I see you picking it up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just narrating to her what I see her doing. And then I know you're still learning the signs. So whatever signs you can incorporate with that. So like I saw her picking up the blocks. So this is the sign like for pickup. It's the letter S. And then it's like you're grabbing something on the ground and picking it up.
Okay.
So you were picking it up?
Picking it up, Mommy?
So I see she's standing and what do you think is something that you could do at this moment to like help engage with her?
Grab her hands and try letting her walk, or?
Okay. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is you could comment on like what she's doing. Like you could be like, oh, I see you're standing, or now that you know the sign picking up, I see that you're picking those up.
Okay. You're standing.
Good job, Mom.
You're standing. Oh, you're picking it up, huh?
I'm going to stop there because I already feel like we saw a lot and I want to not lose track or forget. I'm curious, maybe I'll just ask what coaching strategies you spotted.
So some nice direct teaching and some demonstration with a side of demonstration with narration. And that kind of in the context of, narrating, but she's also allowing for some caregiver practice too.
Yeah. So that was actually a goal of Shelly's when we had looked at her like first video with his family. She was like, she would do all that hopeful modeling that we've talked about, like showing the parent, but she's like, how do I like turn it back over? And I'm like, well, that's what demonstration with narration is. Like you kind of describe what you're doing and then give them a turn to practice. So I was really proud of her that she like got into that with this parent there.
Yeah. And she also asked a nice problem solving question at the end too.
Yeah. I want to talk more about that too. So like I think she asks something like, how could you engage with her? Which is such a great question, right? And this is like something I see in so many of the videos. We'll ask a question, and in our mind as the professional, we'll have an idea of what the right answer is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of felt, mom was like, I could take her hands and make her walk, but Shelly, she was like, okay, or you could try. So I'm curious, like, let's problem solve through that, you and me, like, let's practice the strategy. Like, Kelli, when you hear me say that, does that sound problematic at all in a way, and why?
Yeah. So I think that, with problem solving, we have to be really comfortable in the unknowing of where that question might lead us. Because like you said, we have this thought in our mind, we have this, like what we think is a really great idea or might, lead to growth somehow. And so when we ask the question, we need to feel comfortable with, the parent might, or the caregiver might not come up with that idea. And we should run with it anyway, whether it is a great idea or, it turns out we need to maybe pivot from it. or help lead them, to maybe what another idea might be. But it's important to listen to what they say and try it out and like continue problem solving it more. So yeah, that stuck out to me a little bit too.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard, but one of the reasons I think it's so hard is like when we're in sessions, and especially if we feel new to coaching or we're already concerned about our own experience or knowledge base, the worst thing is like to send a problem solving question like to a family and have the family turn back and be like, you're the expert, you're supposed to know. Like, are you asking me because you don't know what we should do here? I've heard so many like therapists say this, like the family expects me to tell them, right? But if Shelly had Shelly had this idea in her mind. So if she wanted mom to get to that practice that she was thinking of, what's another way she could have like maybe offered a choice, or like, what do you think she could have done differently?
It was such a good question. What could you do to help engage her? But maybe specify the goal or the target a little bit more beforehand, because something Shelly said was, I see she's standing. What's something you could do at this moment to help engage her? So I could see why mom then brought in, I could hold her hands. So maybe leading up to the problem solving question, talk a little bit about, what the goals are. That way the context is then kind of set, and that's mom's frame of mind coming into answering the question.
Yeah, like how could we practice a sign here while we engage with her, right? Or something to like emphasize that mom is engaging with her, and like we want to acknowledge that, but also like give exactly what you said. Like, could we kind of tell mom, like, don't forget, we want to like use those signs whenever we can, or model language. I love that idea. The other thing I was gonna direction I was thinking we could go in this conversation is like, Shelly had this idea in mind that mom could model stand, but she didn't want to just tell her what to do. She wanted mom to like problem solve and think. So she's like, what's a way we could engage her? And mom says, I could take her hands, like help her to walk, right? She loves to like be up, Serenity does. So like, what's like a follow-up question Shelly could run with instead of pivoting? Like if mom said, I could take her hands and make her walk, like where Shelly goes.
Oh, yeah. I think that she could have also just run with that a little more, talk about the relevant signs there, talk about, the words they could be using in that activity. Cause it's probably a priority of mom's. I think, she said it right away. So maybe, walking supported is something that is also important to her right now. So we can incorporate these signs, in that context too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I think mom kind of phrased it as a question. Like she wasn't sure, she kind of was asking Shelly. So that opens up another conversation to talk about priorities and circle back to what strategy they're practicing in this session.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like maybe one of Shelly's thoughts, I'm guessing, because like Shelly's a fluent in sign language, right? So if mom takes both her hands, can mom sign? Right? Like if she helps support her walking, right? So Shelly could even have that conversation like, yeah, that's great. Since you won't be able to sign while you're supporting her, what else could we still model the words and think about signing it before we take her hand, like problem solve through that lens? What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, another, exactly. So where they're kind of working together to come to that. And I think that comes from asking, like the examples you gave, those leading questions. Like if it's already in Shelly's mind, to have maybe mom say the sign, say the word, produce the sign, and repeat it a couple times before grabbing her hands. That's great, but let's help mom to be the one to kind of officially say that out loud, rather than it be Shelly saying exactly what to do.
Well, and also you can tell that this problem solving strategy, that it's new for Shelly. Like she's like really trying to do more problem solving with parents. The reason I can tell it's new with this family is because mom isn't used to that conversation. So she is used to Shelly coming in and directing her a little bit more, like, okay, let's model this here. Let's, and now she's trying to problem solve. And mom's like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to think of the answer. Like you can tell that this is like a new development. So I think as mom gets more comfortable and Shelly does too, those conversations will come more naturally, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. They're still kind of getting their footing. I think also with problem solving questions, when a parent isn't used to the style of coaching yet, sometimes a problem solving question, the way we word it or the way we say it can feel almost like, or can lead the parent to feel that there's a certain right answer. So like finding that sweet spot where it really feels more of a collaboration, and like, I know that you're the expert on your child and I want to help us come to the answers so that you can use it throughout the week. So even, when Shelly is trying to get mom to, maybe like that example we gave, produce the sign a couple times before walking, let's say they wanted to work on that. Sometimes even just saying it more conversationally rather than that role of home visitor parent, just like, oh, wait, but like she needs your support. She needs to hold your hand. So like, how can we, kind of feeling more candid about it and more conversational about it to put the parent a little more at ease and ease them into this style of therapy or intervention.
Yeah. And that definitely comes with more experience just with the language, right? Just like asking the I wonders, asking the problem solving questions, and just like the first few times you do it, it like feels funny in your mouth and like it sounds funny to your ears, but it's like that dynamic is building. And I feel like as we get more comfortable, it's going to be easier for Shelly to say something like, oh, she wants to engage with you. Like, how could we support her? And then mom would say like, I could take her hands, and Shelly could say like, okay, that's great. You're reading her cues. That's what she wants, is to be up, right? Do you think this is a good time to try to do stand again, the sign, and just give mom that encouragement that like, thank you for telling me like what your child wants.
Yes.
Let's validate it.
Yep.
And also give like some scaffolding for an opportunity to practice.
Yeah. And that practice is so important, because sometimes, the problem solving and working with each other to get to the answer, sometimes it calls for trial and error. Like, let's try that. And even though we know that we might end up getting to the point where we say, let's produce the signs a few times beforehand. Sometimes they just need to try out what they said. And then an answer comes to mind, like, oh, I'm holding her hand, so I can't make the sign. Like then they come to it on their own, but they got there through practicing, not through us like, oh, let's keep talking about it. Let's keep talking about it. So that's what coaching is right? Like feeling out, like, should I stay on this problem solving conversationally? Should we give it a try and then come back to the problem solving afterward? You kind of feel it out, like with experience, and with each family, it's so individual,
Definitely. I mean, those are the two most important coaching strategies is the actual practice and the reflection, right? Because like, that's what all the research says, at least. Like those are the two biggest things that we need, those elements. So I feel like, if they had tried it out and then Shelly could have said like, how did that feel? And mom would say like, it felt like I was engaging with her, whatever mom felt. Right. And then Shelly could be like, yeah, I think it's great. You were still modeling the word while she has your hands. And like you said, they just like talk through it and see where it might lead next. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good observations. Let's watch the other half.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere you could set the phone where I can see both of you?
Yes. Let me. There it is, because this little thing moves everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. It just gives me a better opportunity to see you guys interact.
She's walking around it already. And then to walk is like
this is a sign for walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're walking. Yeah.
Good. I love how you narrated, said the word and signed the word at the same time. That's really good to get in practice of doing that.
Okay. Bless you.
Oh,
It's just like this. Bless you.
Good job. Good remembering. Good remembering. Yeah. You gonna look at the book?
Okay. Are the colors? Are the colors? The animals? Oh.
So is this pretty typical, like a routine that you guys typically do throughout your day, looking at books and?
Yes, we do it usually right here. I let her kind of crawl. I put her in her walker, we walk around. She's everywhere, so I have to keep the beanbag right here because just so she doesn't go tight towards the kitchen. Right now, in a little bit, she's actually gonna eat right now.
Okay.
And feed them both right now.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
Okay.
Awesome. Want to jump in with anything?
I think that book activity, again, Shally asked a great question. Is this what it typically looks like? That's a really good jumping off point to talk more about the strategies to use, what's important to parents. It was great. And she observed for not a few minutes, but she observed for a while before asking it. So another really great thing to get parents used to is, observation, because we observe with a purpose. But it was also another example, I think, of what we were talking about before, with a problem solving opportunity. Because I'm thinking, okay, they're sitting reading books. This is something they do because she asked. So now we know that's a routine they do. And I'm not sure where Serenity's at with sitting, if she can sit indefinitely yet, or for a few minutes, maybe she needs support. But in my head, I'm thinking, I want to arrange the environment a little bit so that they can be face to face, so that Serenity can see signs, and mom can do, like what Shally said, you're producing the word, you're producing the sign at the same time. That's so great. So I would love, because mom is here for this session. She's asking how to produce certain signs. So I would love to pose a problem solving question to help mom sort of arrive at that point, to come up with an idea as to how to maybe rearrange a little bit, or that maybe rearranging is warranted in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
You're kind of thinking of that intervention strategy of like environmental arrangement and how that face-to-face positioning would be like helpful with the book, right? And I love that you see that opportunity. And I'm thinking of at the very beginning of that clip where what happens? Mom says, she goes, yeah, like she's going like this, Serenity's doing this, and mom goes, yeah, and she like gets right in her face, and she's got this beautiful smile, and she's just like, I was like, oh, this is an awesome time to like point out that dyad strength. Like, I love seeing like that interaction between you two. You're so animated. She's tuning into you, and then if you catch that, you bring it in later, like, hey, remember how you got that face-to-face before and she was so tuned in? What do you think about how could we recreate that maybe during this routine? Something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Nice detective work, Stacey. Yeah.
I always try to like, if I want to suggest something, I always try to be like, have I seen it happen already? So I can start with like, here's your strength. You can already do it. Can we just like do it more frequently?
Yeah, like I'm segueing us, but because of your strength and something we saw, it's I know it flows so nicely that way. I love when that happens.
Yeah, this is kind of like a segue, but I actually have a student right now for like a couple older kids that I see, and like they were correcting something, and I was like, well, remind him that he just did it. He just did it in this word or whatever it was, and like he could do it again, which just feels like something I didn't know for years, and I always was just like, try it again, it's wrong or whatever. Like it's been such a process to like correct my deficit-based training to being a strengths-based approach, and I feel grateful that I can like spot those opportunities now. But for anyone watching, like that comes with like just time and practice.
Yeah.
There was something else I saw in that video. Mom, I love that she kind of like, she wants to learn, like she's like, this is the sign for walk. And then Shelly shows her. And then I do feel like one thing that I see is Shelly making a conscious effort. Again, I know from past videos that she's trying to work on this. She gives Mom more praise and feedback than she has in other videos and other sessions in the past. So she like, good job, Mom. Oh, good remembering. And at one point she even got like more specific. I like how and like really told Mom exactly what she was doing that was like supporting.
That performance feedback. Yep. Yeah. Cause we want Mom to know specifically what she did that was good, so that during the week, maybe she shares it, or maybe she tells herself like, oh yeah, I just, did the word and the sign at the same time. And my home visitor loves that. Yeah.
Right. And she's more likely to tell grandma or brother, like, yeah, do it like this. Great. You're holding it because you're giving her two choices or modeling the sign, or like, it's just like, it generalizes, right? In Mom's language too. Yeah. Anything else that comes to mind?
Well, one thing is at the end, when Shelly asked her about what it typically looks like, or I don't know at what point it was, but Mom started rattling off a few things that typically occur. So I'm thinking like, I need to write these down. We can come to those later. There's so many routines in there, so many predictable moments in there. I think she mentioned crawling, going to the kitchen, walking around, I don't know, like following her around or something like that. I mean, so many moments in time there to dive into, whether it be today or down the road.
Yeah. There were so many ways that conversation could go. I think Shelly said, is this like what it typically looks like when you kind of do this routine? And then mom maybe interpreted that as like, is this what you typically do this time of day? I don't know. But she kind of went on and she said she's about to have a snack. I think she kind of said she's about to eat or snack soon. And I was like, I think she's still nursing, but also eating. I feel like that was like an opportunity to possibly get into another routine. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, depending on how the book reading went, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like that segue of like, oh, I don't want to interrupt that, or we could do it now, or you want to show me and we can problem solve some other signs, like whatever that conversation could have gone.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. That was a great visit.
Yeah. So I think just closing up, a good thought, a good reflection for anybody watching. We of course want your feedback, your own reflections. Please type them below, but maybe something like, when has my problem solving practice been the most collaborative and the most effective? Really thinking back and why that is, or what you did specifically to foster that, and kind of check in on the times that it really felt like a partnership between you and the parent, and differentiate that from the times that it might feel more one-sided, and that, you're the one maybe offering more suggestions, or maybe the caregiver is made to feel like there's a right answer that they need to get to. I think it's always good for any home visitor, no matter how new you are to the practice, or maybe you're highly seasoned in it and have been doing it for years, but to check back on those visits and those relationships. What do you think?
I think it's great. I already found myself reflecting on it as you were asking for us, the whole audience, to kind of think of that experience for themselves and reflect on it, because that self-reflection that we do is really important. So having like guided questions like that one, Kelly, is really helpful for me. And it just made me think quickly about like a visit like that, where I was like, oh, this was a partnership and a true collaboration. And I didn't even get sidetracked or bogged down with like, oh, that last visit, there wasn't much collaborative problem solving, because I could just think like, well, why was that one effective, right? And then once I start to go deeper in my reflection there, I can figure out how to possibly start generalizing that skill with other families.
Yeah. And if this is something that resonates with you as a visitor, I know something that just personally helped me when I started coaching, was after visits, when something did go well. Like maybe if I reflected on problem solving and like, wow, that felt really collaborative. And I really feel like we have this partnership going. Sit in that, like take notes on it. I would write it down so that I can reflect on it later. And the same with visits that didn't feel so good. I would try to pinpoint maybe what I could have done differently or where it started to not go wrong, but go in a direction that I wish went somewhere else. And yeah, reflect on that later. That self-reflection.
Awesome. Yay. Thanks, Kelly.
Yay. Thanks, Stacey.